Let's jump right in. Welcome to the Explainer. Have you ever struggled to find the exact right adjective to describe something that's thin, but holds this surprising, almost unbreakable amount of strength? We usually just default to generic words like strong or tough. But language gives us so much more precision if we just know where to look. Today we're unlocking a really fantastic descriptive word that bridges the gap between human anatomy, the raw power of nature, and even your dinner plate. Get ready, because mastering this single concept is absolutely going to upgrade how you describe the physical world around you.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to mentally transport yourself to a moment where you're eating. Imagine you've just taken a bite of some dried meat, maybe a really rugged piece of beef jerky or, let's be honest, an incredibly overcooked steak. You start chewing and chewing and chewing until your jaw literally starts to ache. You're kind of reconsidering your life choices, right? But the meat, it just will not give up. It's tough, it's stringy, and it holds together no matter what you do. You can feel those unyielding rope-like fibers just resisting your teeth. We've all had that frustrating, visceral experience. Well, it turns out the English language has a tailor-made adjective for this exact sensation.
Which brings us to Section 1, Meet Today's Word.
So that incredibly vivid physical sensation we just talked about, it needs a name, and that word is sinewy. I want you to actually say it out loud with me right now. Sinewy. You can see the three distinct syllables there, with the first part rhyming perfectly with when. As an adjective, this is a describing word, and it gives us highly specific information about the physical makeup of whatever we're talking about.
Section 2, the core meaning.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that to truly understand sinewy, we have to dig down into its biological foundation. It comes directly from the root word sinew. In biology, a sinew is a piece of tough fibrous tissue uniting muscle to bone or bone to bone. Essentially, it's a tendon or a ligament. Think of them as the biological cables or the literal cords inside a body. And when you think of a cord or a rope, you think of something pulled tight, right? Something incredibly difficult to tear or snap. So when we describe something as sinewy, we're saying it shares the characteristics of those biological cables. It is tough, it's tense, and it fiercely resists being torn apart.
And just to quickly round out our grammatical toolkit here, we also have its morphological family member, the noun sinewiness. While we use the adjective to describe things directly, you can use the noun form when you want to talk about the concept or the state of being sinewy. So, for example, you might admire the sheer sinewiness of an Olympic rock climber's arms. Having both forms in your vocabulary just gives you that much more flexibility.
Moving on to Section 3, sinewy in the wild.
I like to think of this word's structure like a sunflower. Imagine the core definition, that tough, unyielding stringiness, as the dark center. And from that center, the specific uses of the word stretch and branch out like bright petals to describe completely different things. Out in nature, for instance, we might read something like, "The hikers gripped a thick, sinewy vine to pull themselves up the slope." Notice how the author didn't just call the vine strong or thick. By calling it a sinewy vine, it paints a picture of a plant that is twisted, fibrous, and completely unbreakable. You can almost feel the tension in the vine as it holds the weight of those hikers. It's a perfect use of the word to show fibrous resilience in the wild.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next petal, the human body. The dancer's sinewy legs were thin but remarkably strong. When we use this word to describe a person, we're painting a very specific picture of athletic, efficient strength. It means a body that's powerfully muscled and lean, with absolutely no extra softness or bulk. Kind of like the tension of a coiled spring. The dancer doesn't have massive, heavy thighs, but rather lean, tightly packed cords of muscle that can generate explosive leaps.
Which actually brings us right back to our opening hook. We needed a sharp knife to cut through the sinewy piece of meat. This is the word returning to its absolute most literal, visceral roots. It perfectly captures that stubborn, unyielding steak from the very beginning of our explainer. It's tough, it's fibrous, and it utterly refuses to give way easily, even to a sharpened blade.
Section 4, Word Detective, the opposites.
Let's move to this and see how this builds. Sometimes the absolute best way to fully master a concept is to flip it completely upside down. If we want to really understand what sinewy is, we have to know what it isn't. It is the direct opposite of bulky or beefy. Think about a bodybuilder. They have sheer mass and volume. They take up space. But a long-distance marathon runner? Now that is the perfect embodiment of sinewy. They aren't carrying heavy, bulky mass. Instead, they have lean, tough, highly efficient strength. So, remember, this word is not about size at all. It is entirely about taut, lean power. To really lock in the exact boundaries of our definition, our source dictionary entry goes further, explicitly listing two direct antonyms for sinewy. The first one is flabby. If something is soft, loose, or yielding, it simply cannot be sinewy. The second opposite is puny. If something is weak, frail, or lacking power, it cannot be sinewy either. So to earn this descriptor, you have to live right in the sweet spot between those two extremes. You can't be soft, and you can't be weak. You must be powerfully tough.
Section 5. Your turn to try. So, the crucial point is, let's tie it all together. The word is sinewy. The core meaning is strong and tough, lean but muscular. And the ultimate thread that connects all of its different uses, whether we're talking about an unbreakable vine, a marathon runner, or a tough piece of meat, is toughness without bulk. That right there is the absolute essence of the word.
I want to leave you with a challenge to put your new knowledge into action. Think of an athlete or an animal that you'd call sinewy. A cheetah, a rock climber, maybe a tennis player. Right now, mentally construct one single sentence using the word to describe why lean but tough fits them perfectly. Try to really visualize those tense cords of muscle. By doing this, you're actively wiring this word into your everyday vocabulary. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fantastic concept. Keep your eyes open for this kind of lean, unyielding strength out in the world today. And remember, there's always another fascinating subject waiting to be explored. Catch you on the next Explainer.